COVID, and everything changed for the industry, and it was time to go home, and it was time to go back to Marvel.
E aí, pessoal, mais uma entrevista diretamente da CXP. Dessa vez estou com a lenda dos quadrinhos, John Romita Jr. First of all, Mr. Romita, it's an honor to be interviewing you. I'm a great fan of your work. You're my favorite comic artist of all time.
Muito obrigado.
And,
Uma honra.
oh, nice. And I interviewed you in 2018, a long time ago,
great.
yeah. And you've been in this industry for a long time. And now every time you look at your art, you see, oh, that is Romita Jr. But in the 70s, I remember during the Iron Man age, you were still getting your own style, developing, and this is a theory of mine, but in the 80s, during the X-Men, I think is when I saw, okay, this is Romita Jr. style.
I think maybe it was Daredevil years later.
With Innocenti.
Yes, because with X-Men, Chris Claremont was very dominant in his stories, and I was inexperienced. He was very strong. And I still felt a little bit less in control. When I got to Daredevil with Innocenti, I was given control and I was able to play with stories and the character. Maybe my art style began with X-Men, but it blossomed with Daredevil. I never had a conscious effort to create a style. Whatever was coming out on schedule, I call it deadline style. Whatever was coming out on time, and at the time it was important to make deadlines. I was happy with it as long as it was decent artwork. I always felt uncomfortable that I was not good enough. But as time passed and I did more and more and more, I felt more in control. That's why with Daredevil, a short time later, I had control over the story and the artwork, and my storytelling advanced significantly with Daredevil.
Nice. And you've been in Spider-Man. It's impossible to think about Spider-Man and not thinking about you. You've been there in the 90s, in the 2000s, 2010s, and now you're back in 2020s. It's my favorite character also, and you're my favorite artist for the character. How is for you? It's like to see the character developing. Like for 30 years, you've been working on him.
The greats before me, my father, Steve Ditko, always made me feel humble in that I had to prove myself and do better work. It's a good thing and a bad thing. A bad thing because I was intimidated, feeling I was never going to be as good as they were. And it's a great thing because it makes you work that much harder. And the more I did it, the more I worked on the character, the better and the more comfortable I felt. It's now a part of my life.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was a job, now it's an important part of my life. I love the character. And because of my father, I will always love the character.
That's beautiful. And let me ask you, last time we spoke, you were at DC at the time. Now you came back to Marvel. How do you see, what did you learn for your time in DC? So much different characters. You know, you're a Marvel guy. When you think about Marvel, the Romita family is a Marvel family. But what did you learn in your time at DC?
That's an excellent question. Excellent question. I remember telling my wife, Kathy, I'm nervous because the microscope was over me. The cameras were on me because I changed companies. And there was a lot of negative comments in social media. And I worked on Superman, the first thing I did. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm terrified because this is such a long, revered character. How many years? And
the
I began to,
hero.
of course. And I began to draw, and suddenly it was a red cape. And I said, wait a minute, I've done this. I know how to do this. It's a red cape, it's a superhero. And I felt more comfortable in a moment's time. I felt more comfortable, and I told my wife, I said, this is just like drawing Thor with a big red cape. I love it.
Yeah.
And then I was able to do Batman, which was important to me.
I love your Two-Face. Your design for Two-Face is incredible.
Thank you. When I began to do Batman is when I felt very comfortable. And then time passed, and it was COVID, and everything changed for the industry, and it was time to go home, and it was time to go back to Marvel.
So one last question before we finish this. You've been in this industry for a long, long time. Is there any character that you said, I never really draw him the way I wanted, that you want to draw.
Yes,
Which one?
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
After many years of saying I enjoy street characters,
Yeah.
Spider-Man, Daredevil, The Punisher, street, I want to do more fantasy because I have not done fantasy. But I don't want to do intergalactic because I did some with Superman.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. But Doctor Strange is mystic.
Yeah, and you did
Very
a great
different.
job during the Straczynski run. It was incredible.
Different, very different. I would love it. And I have an idea for a story and I would embrace it. But if I had to choose any other character, artistically it would be Daredevil once again.
Oh, that's I
My
love your
favorite character
Daredevil.
of all time.
He's one of
To
the
draw.
greatest.
But Spider-Man is my favorite character.
Thank you so much.
Muito
Mr. Green.
obrigado.
It's an honor. Hope you enjoy your stay here in Brazil.
Uma honra e prazer.